Today is Saturday, November 19th, 2022. Let's do our disclaimer, go over our calls, make some predictions, and because it's the weekend, we shall look at the longer-term picture. It's my trading plan for Monday, 21st of November. Please follow my rules and remember I can be wrong. Any trade you make should be at your own risk. Look for the pattern with the early high, which is this. Monday should also have the early high. We said there was a count that justified in advance, but if it was going to work, it really should start soon after the open, and that's what happened. Signals were mixed. The commonest thing was a gap and prompt move outside the day's range, and that's what happened as well. These are the patterns I'm looking for next week. We had an old target that made us wait a few days, 39.74.79. We hit it early in the morning, nailed it almost on the nose in the afternoon. These aren't only targets, these are support resistance levels. All the levels from MEJT are now pretty far away and won't influence Monday's action. During the day, MEJT said ultimately higher price it would print, and even though we got the minimum immediately, all these squiggles were called false, they wouldn't stick, and then we got more than the minimum, which is what usually happens. Well, because we don't have any MEJT targets within close proximity, we have to rely on other stuff. We're going to look at a few wave counts and we'll see it's possible to make the waves say whatever you want them to say. First of all, let's notice we still have resistance on top and support below. You don't have to bet on every race. If we break through resistance, the odds are we'll go higher. We break through support, the odds are we'll go lower. Let's focus in a bit more. This is one of the counts, but it's not the only count. You can count this as A. And this is a bearish count. You can count ABC, with C finishing here, and C and A have a clear Fibonacci relationship. So if this does hold, you can explain it. But that's not the only way to count things. That's a negative count. This is a count which has us in wave 1 and wave 2. It's a bullish count and says we're in wave 3 higher. And just to complicate matters, you can count this as A. Here's an ABC with C equal to A, and that's B. This says we're in wave C down and we're still in wave 2, which isn't bullish or bearish. It means we're still in a congested area. Not much help there. So let's look at this new trend line. You can see all these hits. It's a valid line. The rule I have is we gap over the trend line and the trend line wins. It means if we don't gap over this trend line, any move over it probably should retrace to the trend line, and most likely before too much time has passed. So if we're going to continue rallying, you want to gap over this line on Monday. That'll be the call. Now that's not the only way to count this. This is a pretty simple count, and it's a negative count that gives us a different target. You can call this A and this B. And if you look at wave B, you can have A and B C is pretty much equal to A, and if you look inside wave B, you can count this as A and that B, and C is equal to A. So that's a pretty simple count, nothing complex, nothing fancy. if it's the right count, and that's A and that's B, and C is equal to A, gives us a target of 33.2487. Again, other targets work too. Well, if you take the high down to 33.2487, and that's it, that would be wave C, green C. And if you compare it to wave A, (61.8% is right there. So if that count works, it's a perfectly acceptable count. It's close enough to what you get. This 1.618 can be measured from here to C or from here to C. That's why we have two targets. So 33.2487 is another target that works in addition to all these. But as far as Monday is concerned, you really want to gap up over this high if you're going to break through resistance. Monday's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. Typically the day is bullish with a fine lower high and failures a straight line drop. There's strong resistance at Friday's high. If the rallies to continue unabated, we should gap over that high. If we don't, any rallies should retrace. Not only is the daily pattern usually bullish, but Thanksgiving week is usually bullish. All this means gapping up Monday is entirely plausible, even if it isn't assured. But if we don't gap up Monday, and if we undercut this week's low significantly, we've undercut major support with good fib wave balance right at this week's high. And that, if that happens, which I'm not calling for one way or the other, if that happens, it changes the picture. There are valid wave counts compatible with a significant drop if this week's low falls significantly. Pattern's the early high. It's usually bullish. If this rally continues, we should really gap up over this high. But if this holds and if this low falls, the picture does a 180 and we could have a major league drop here in spite of the usually bullish Thanksgiving week and usually bullish time of the year. Monday has the early high. Hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. And that is today's call.